Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aries for January 2019. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Check out my blog and other goodies there. If you would like to have a live personal reading with me, I would love to give you my insights for the new year for you and beyond, and whatever else you have on your mind that I can help with. If you love how I teach and you resonate, then you will love my Astrology Apprenticeship program, which may be enrolling right at this moment, depending on when you're watching this. If it's not enrolling yet, it will be enrolling soon, and I would love to have you aboard. If you think I go into details in the horoscopes, then you can imagine the details I go into in the Astrology Apprenticeship program, which is crazy comprehensive. So check that out at anniehelpsyou.com. So what's going on in this new month, this new year? We have a very radical, clean slate type of a new year that definitely feels like a new year. Not all new years feel like new years from the astrological perspective, because sometimes the transits are still groggy or moving backwards, but not this year. This year we've got a beautiful clean slate. All the personal planet retrogrades are in succession, are done. And then we've got their post-shadow periods are finished. And we also have all the planets going direct, all of them. That's, an unusual event. So all the planets going in the forward direction, starting from early in January through February 18th. So this is wonderful news for Aries energy, because we like to go, 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 right? I have Aries rising, and I know that the whole slow moving, stodgy, retrograde whole thing, I've come to appreciate it because I can understand it better. But we most like moving forward, right? Blazing forward. So this is going to be an amazing time of that. We also tend to like change, the excitement of change. And that is definitely happening this month. The eclipses are bringing radical change, radical trajectory, switches. Certain things we've been working for will show up in a big way. Certain other things may not be as welcome. But lots of changes, some of them bittersweet. But some things we've really hoped for can definitely manifest at this time. And in general, one of the eclipses is in a beautiful aspect to our energies. So we've got all that going on. So I'm going to talk about where that second eclipse is going to be for Aries placements, early, middle, and late, what the possible implications could be. If you haven't already watched my December report, or if you have, you may want to watch it again, because that is a companion to this report, because the things I talk about in the December report from the eclipse perspective will still be current for this month. It's so much information, I couldn't go through it all in one, because already my reports are very long, so I had to separate it that way. So I talk about the implications for Aries of the first eclipse in January in the December report, and then in this one I'll show you the charts for where the second one is going to be. And also some other things. We're going to check out, keep track of Jupiter, see, how that's going, and some other things that are definitely relevant for Aries placements. Besides all this new energy, we also have 3 supermoons as our first 3 full moons of the year, including the first eclipse, then 2 full moons after that are supermoons. Lots of big changes, lots of emotional, notable things coming to fruition, and new things coming, old things ending or being accomplished. And also all of those full moons are at the earliest degree. So that indicates that there's lots of forward movement and lots of new things, and really things being cleared up, a lot of karma being cleared up, a lot of new chapters opening in wonderful ways, for the most part. So of course there's always that, that chance that there are certain changes that we're not looking for and that we don't like, but definitely there's a chance to leave behind a lot of things that we've been hoping to. So we'll look at all of that. So let's look at the visuals for the charts. After I talk about the Aries-specific placements, I'll talk about the general transits, including my favorite dates for the whole year. Some of them are in this month, but I'll definitely talk about my favorite dates in the month for launches. There are some dicey things to work around. Even though we have lots of great open energy, we have emotional eclipses, we've got some aspects with Mercury, some things to look out for that make certain days better than others for doing your important things in launches. So I'll talk about that and where you can expect the dicey energies in the general report after. So let's transition into the charts now. Hello Aries friends. Okay, if you're still with me, that means you're interested in seeing the more in-depth look at the visuals for the early, middle, and late degree placements. So first, let's establish if you are an early, middle, or late degree placement. So if you are a March-born Aries, this is an estimate, but with these breakdowns, you know, it doesn't have to be exact. Those of you like right between early and middle or right between middle and late sometimes could go either way depending on when the sun moved into Aries in the year you were born. The sun doesn't move into Aries the same day every year, which is why I always say it's an estimate. So it could, you know, stagger by a few days. But in any case, we'll call the March born the early. Also, if you're watching for your rising or moon, or you know your sun degree, that would be 0 through 9 degrees. So the middle would be around April 1st through 10th. And then the late, and then also 10 through 19 degrees. And then the late would be around April 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 through 29 degrees if you're watching for your rising or moon, or if you know your sun degree. All right, now if you just missed what I said, then do me a favor and rewind so that you can figure out if you're early, middle, or late. My assistant and I are trying to answer everybody's questions. Anybody who is nice and posts, we are trying to respond to you. But if you're asking about whether you're early, middle, or late, we ask that you just use this guide to figure it out, to kind of take the time off of us to try to help you figure it out. Okay, so a couple of things that I want to talk about for Aries. The first thing is the sun. Okay, so when the sun is in Capricorn, it is moving through the 10th house for Aries, but the timeline that actually gets in there is staggered depending on whether you're early, middle, or late, and I'm going to show you that. So the sun brings warmth, vibrance, focus, sometimes kind of like a spotlight in a dark room. It can show you some things that are wrong that need to be fixed, but in general, you know, it just brings your focus to this area. So every year in January, when the planets start moving into Capricorn, work, career, you know, anything with your job, anything with your place out in the world, things involving father figures or authority figures or bosses, things like that, start to come into focus. So right from the beginning of January, the sun is going to be highlighting that space for early degree. And for some of you middle degree placements, it will actually be there right from the first. Some of you other middle degree placements, it might take a week or so to really get in there. It will, you know, still be in the 9th house for at first. And then for you late degree placements, it's going to take a little bit longer for the sun to get there, but it will get there. It's just going to take a couple of weeks depending on your exact placement. You know, so more towards the middle or end of the month is when the work highlight comes for you. And for you middle and late degree placements that have the sun still in the 9th house for a little longer, that is activating your publishing, long-distance travel, international business, teaching and learning. So starting teaching programs, starting learning programs, you know, taking your work out to a bigger level, anything with publishing, editing, writing, speaking, spiritual pursuits, things involved with the church, things like that. Okay, so that's just some little more superficial sun-based things that we've got going on. The next thing that I want to talk about is that Mars is going to move into, we'll say our sign because I have Aries rising. Okay, so Mars I always call the border collie of the zodiac. So wherever Mars is, it's like, if you've ever been around a border collie, they're just like ready for action. You know, wherever you set them on, they just have this intense focus. And so wherever Mars is in the chart, it's like you're hot on that area. You're really, really focused on that area. So right from the beginning of January, the early degree placements are going to have Mars in the 1st house, which we'll talk about what that means. Some of the middle degree placements will have it there very quickly too, but for some of you it may be a little bit staggered, depending on if you're just right there in the beginning of middle. It will get there quicker. And you late degree placements, you still have some weeks where it's going to be in the 12th house. So what I'm about to talk about will be current for you too. It will just take a little bit longer to get there. So Mars in the first house can make people really hot on their physical routine and their physical body. So anything having to do with getting in shape or restoring health or, anything like that. Also can have to do with your image, what you're putting out into the world, getting really focused on what it is that you're showing people and what it is you want to show people, and maybe getting a platform or some other strategy together and maybe implementing it now. This is an amazing time to implement strategy. For the middle and late degree placements who still have Mars in the 12th house, it's joined with all these other placements, which are longer term ones. So even though for the early degree placements Mars is moving on, you still will share what I'm about to discuss with this very heavy 12th house. Okay, so the 12th house I call the Harry Potter house, because this is the house of our fears and the deep issues, the transgenerational, patterning, anything, the cosmic consciousness, anything in the deep unconscious mind, past lives, things like that. So you've got all of these representatives pretty much. Neptune is close enough to be a player even for the late degree placements, trying to help you to master your mind and show you that your creative faculties lie within you, and that you don't have to project out your power onto other people or places or things or anything like that. But it can be a little bit stressful and it can be a little bit heavy, and Mars in there is kind of like rumping around and, is making you feel uncomfortable in many cases. It's not a terribly comfortable experience to have a lot going on in your 12th house, unless you are a seeker and you are trying to heal the addictive mind. You're having some people may start noticing synchronicities more, and once you get into the realm of synchronicities, that's the idea of synchronicities were really brought into the picture by Carl Jung, the famous psychologist. And once you get into synchronicities from the psychological perspective, it just jumps right over into the spiritual perspective, where there's obviously there's something greater that's happening. So things like deja vu, waking dreams could be activated more. So you can make a very fast jump into super spiritual, metaphysical things that people would consider out there with all of this here. And that would actually be a really good way to use the energy, because if you're not doing something active with it, it can be very uncomfortable, and it can lead to overdoing with addictions or avoidance behaviors or, mental instability or challenges. So the more you can be productive with it, the more you can turn it into gold. And that's what it's intended to do. You're not intended to suffer or have to have negative consequences. It's just a lot of energy that you're supposed to be converting into gold. So if you are a person for whom mental instability or depression or something like that is an issue, then definitely feel into a good quality fish oil. I'm not a doctor. You have to check these with your own intuition, with your research, with your doctor. There are situations where it's not appropriate to take fish oil, but I have seen very many times with people I've worked with that having a good omega-3 source consistently can really help to support, especially when you've got all of this going on. And it can really help you to stay straight and do good things with the energy. My favorite one that I use is omega3innovations.com. And there are scientists that put this together that I know personally. And they're just amazing. And they're doing scientific research with their formulas. And it's just really helpful. So omega3innovations.com. Okay, so let's talk about Jupiter. Let's do a little quickie check-in with Jupiter. We talked about Jupiter extensively in November. You can go back to the November report to understand a little bit more about the implications of Jupiter this year and some timing. But let's watch its progress, okay? So in November, when it moved into Sagittarius for early degree placements, it started accentuating the 9th house, which is the house that Jupiter rules. Okay, so now I had told you the middle degree people would, in January, start really feeling Jupiter getting there. But you late degree people, it's going to take a little while longer. You can see Jupiter's back here in the 8th house. For a while. It will be well into 2019 before that really starts kicking up in your ninth house, depending on your placement. So Jupiter is the great expander. It's very happy in its own sign. It wants to give you awesome blessings, especially in the area for early and middle right now, and this will be coming later for late degree, in the house that it rules. Okay, so the teaching, learning, publishing, all the things that I talked about before with the sun being here in the ninth house for a little longer for middle and late. Jupiter is doing all of those things just in a longer way, and in a deeper way. So if you guys are writers or you're trying to bring your work out, Jupiter can bring you the publishing blitz of the century. Pretty exciting. Anything having to do with teaching or learning, if you're trying to teach, or if you want to get educated and find the perfect teacher, there's just tons of really good energy here. For those of you who still have Jupiter in the 8th house, remember that this can be really lucky for money. As far as winning money, inheritances, anything having to do with sweepstakes or somebody gifting you money or loaning you money, getting a loan. If you've had a dream to buy something, something of value, a house, you middle or late degree people, you still have really great Jupiter blessings in your 8th house that can help you. So definitely do your research. The more you're educated, the more you can try to access Jupiter's bounty. A common question I get is, Annie, Jupiter has been in this certain place for a while. I'm not seeing any of the blessings. Okay, people will phrase this in different ways. Sometimes it's very nice and really wanting to learn. Sometimes it's, kind of pissy and like, you're wrong, Jupiter doesn't do that. And the answer is, no, I'm not wrong. What I talk about is potentials. All of the astrological placements, transits, whatever they've got going on, these are potentials. These are ingredients on a counter. The pie doesn't make itself. In many cases, you have to do something with that energy. And if you are not a vibrational match for having a bunch of money come to you, or the financing come to you, or spiritual breakthroughs, which is, the 8th house, or psychological breakthroughs, which is the 8th house, or the publishing stuff in the 9th house, if you have a block to what would happen if you were to go to that next step, you are not going to manifest that from this potential. And that's just a law of the universe. So that's why I can't separate astrology from coaching, because I've seen too many charts and worked with too many people to be naive to the fact that I can't in good conscience just say, okay, that's going to be really good for publishing or for money or whatever. Good luck with that. I want to tell you that you have to do the inner work. And if you're finding that your patterns from the past have not been conducive to the goals that you have in those arenas, then you have to do some things on the inside to shift that energy. You have to take an active role in your destiny rather than just being pissed off if something, that is possible to manifest doesn't manifest. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the eclipse. So we've got 2 eclipses in January, the one on January 5th or thereabouts, depending on your time zone. I covered in good detail in the December report. So I definitely see my December report for you as a sister, an important sister to this January report, because one of the eclipses that will be experiencing will be covered in December, and then the second eclipse will be in this report. So we are ending a 2-year, 27 to 2019, Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle. This is the last one. It's in the sign of Aries. And for some of you, it will also be in the house of Aries. Not Aries, I'm sorry. Leo. Okay, so it's at 1 degree of Leo. And that's for some of you, it will be in actually the house of Leo. And for some of you, most of you, it will be in the 4th house of Cancer. Okay, so every Aries has a chance for Leo manifestations because of the sign, and some of you for the house. And really, every Aries has a chance for a 4th house Cancer manifestation, because even those of you for whom the eclipse is actually going to be in the 5th house, which is, your very early degree placements, and maybe some middle you'll get too, it's close enough to the 4th house for all of you that manifestation can occur. Okay, so what does that look like? Lunar eclipses tend to bring drama. They tend to bring stress in a good way or a bad way coming to fruition, emotion, just massive emotion. So it's a supermoon, it's a full moon, it's an eclipse. So the way I'm doing this is like, okay, full moons bring drama, fullness, completion, fruition. Supermoons bring more, and eclipses bring more. So this is like really super of a potential. It's very, very intense, and it is for many people like a closing, a culmination. And it could be a milestone having to do with children. It could be a milestone having to do with a creative project. It can be a milestone having to do with an addiction or a very serious life-changing event. It can also be a ton of fun, like something on your bucket list that manifests that you've been wanting to do for your whole life. That can be how it manifests. So that's very exciting. So if you think back to 2008 and 2009, this is the last time we had the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle. And then, of course, the 2017 to 2019. So you may see certain parallels of things begun then that you've picked up again now or that are coming back up for you to look at. But in any case, the cycle is ending, and it's ending with a very big, powerful bang. So there's also the chance that this ending, fruition, completion, drama, happiness, happy tears can come in the 4th house of home. So for early, middle, and late degree placements, you have a chance to have it here, which has to do with home, family, upbringing, real estate, anything having to do with your inner world or childhood psychology. So like childhood things that are affecting your adult life now. Could be emotional breakthroughs, anything involving parents, although mother tends to be there more, but it is a family house. So something important family related, an ending, in which cases could spawn the beginning or a major change. Okay, so these are the things that are most on my mind. Now I want to tell you my favorite dates of the month, and some of them are even my favorite dates of the year for taking action and launching things. And I know Aries people like to launch stuff, right? So the retrogrades have probably been driving you bonkers, but now is the time. So the stars are open, and January in general has some complications and some dramatic points, but there are some really sweet dates. So I'm going to talk about those, my favorite days for launches. I'm also going to talk about some other dates to watch out for. Okay, so we're going to go into that now. Okay, so now let's talk about the general transits. There are lots of important dates to note, and I'm going to go into the specifics of those now. The theme of the month for all signs is radical new chapters and wide open stars. As I mentioned before, this is truly the energy of a new year. It can be a very clean slate. We've had a year of retrogrades, pretty much focusing on the personal planets retrograde, and this is like a really huge clean slate time. So lots of old patterns, lots of old programming, lots of old ways of being, brilliant new chapters opening. There are so many reasons why there's so much newness. So not only are we free finally from the personal planet retrogrades and their post-shadow periods, as of January 6th, we also have all of the planets, including the outer planets, going direct. So this is a very rare occurrence, and these wide open stars will last until February 18th. So it is important to note, however, that even though we have all this energy from momentum and moving forward, we do actually have quite a few astrological clashes this month. So as far as trying to do important things or move forward, there are definitely going to be clashes and impediments, but still the general energy is just very open, and many things that we've been working on can really manifest at this time in a really huge way. So we talked at length about the eclipses. Besides the fact that the eclipses are happening, bringing in new chapters, ending old chapters, and then also besides the fact that the planets, will be all going direct, also the first 3 full moons of 2019 are all supermoons, and they occur at the first degree of their respective sign, which brings even more energy of a clean slate and the instigation of many new experiences and ways of being, opportunities, trajectory changes, and other new beginnings that we have really sought after, or some that arise as a surprise. I often get the question, what is a supermoon? So the supermoon is when the moon is at its closest possible point to, or very, like, notably close. You ever notice those moons where you're like, gosh, the moon looks really big? Like, whoa. Like that. Then that often is because the moon is actually closer to us. That's why it looks bigger. So when this coincides with the full moon, then it's called a supermoon. Okay, so supermoons definitely carry some similar energy to the eclipses in the way that there's more power behind the full moon. So more things coming to fruition and then opening, opening up. Basically things coming to a major climax and new things beginning. So powerful endings, powerful beginnings are definitely a theme that we're having from the eclipses and the supermoons. So I'm going to go into details about transits that I want you to be very aware of. And do note that if you want a written version of the general transit report a month early delivered to your inbox, then go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter, and you'll get this this information in writing and more. So I list all the transits that are most noteworthy, along with some information about what you can expect. So I won't go through all of them in this video, but if you sign up for my free email newsletter, then you'll be able to see access to them. And a lot of people really like that for planning because you can see when the dicey transits are, like, right there written in front of you, not just hearing it on the audio. Also, if you are planning travel, check out my monthly travel astrology reports on my site, astrologykisstravelbliss.com. And if you like written horoscopes from me, then go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. Okay, so those all will give you tons more information about the transits, how you can best use the energies. So, like I mentioned before, there are quite a few clashes this month, and there's some energy that I would call very sobering. And this is typical of this time of year when aspects get together in the sign of Capricorn. It's kind of very, it's very realist. It's like kind of sometimes time to pay the piper, after the Sag transits of just kind of freedom-loving. Now this is the time to get organized, get your taxes together, figure out the financial aftermath from the holidays, So it can come with some sobering or even challenging news, reality checks, but this energy is also fantastic for trying to drill long-term things in to your reality. So like on the 1st and the 2nd, we've got the Sun getting together with Saturn in this Capricorn. This Capricorn energy is the kind of, I don't want to make it mad, but we'll call it concerned energy, where you're like, okay, we really have to get down to business here. So that energy will last a few days, and then there's a square with Mercury. So on the 3rd, and then also again, we have, let's see, on the 8th, and then again on the 23rd. So January 3rd, January 8th, and January 23rd, we have squares with Mercury. So expect on those days possible impediments to movement, some, minor speed bumps, challenges with communication. Could feel like a mini Mercury retrograde. So whenever Mercury gets together in the form of a square, it can cause those challenges. So it's going to, Mercury still in Sag is going to come and square, let's see, Chiron. Then it's going to come and square Mars. Then it's going to come and square Uranus over the month. Okay, so particularly that one on the 8th and then the one on the 23rd. So 1, 8, 1, 23. Be extra careful with your physical body and with driving. And, these are the kind of transits that I say, really look out as you're texting. I'm hoping that everyone would just stop texting while they're driving or riding a bike or walking in busy areas. But since I know that's not going to happen, I at least can give you the warning that in the days around those days, there are more chances for accidents, verbal communication accidents, and also physical body and vehicle, and with your devices, like dropping in the toilet, things that would impede your communication through something happening to the device. So just be really careful around those days, extra so. And always remember that I give you the dates of the transits, but the days that we can experience the transits are often before or after the actual transit, because all of the transits have these orbs of energy. So like, something happens on this day, sometimes we feel that over here or on the day or some point after, because the range of influence of a transit has an orb, and the orb is dependent upon the planets involved. So, from a day to 4 or 5 days, if we're talking about things with the personal planets, before or after. Okay. That's why I say don't hang your hat too heavily on an exact date. You have to more like tune in to the feeling. If there's going to be a sweet aspect, and there are going to be quite a few, which I'm going to have you note here, then if you're feeling the vibes in the days before, you don't have to wait till the exact day of the aspect. If you want to lock something in or do something important, then definitely follow your personal flow, how you're personally experiencing the transits. Okay, one more challenging date of note, and there are actually more that I'm listing, but again, you can go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and see more about those details. But on January 13th, we have the first of 3 passes of Jupiter in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. Okay, so let's look at that here. So Jupiter is here. Neptune is here. Now, also a reminder, I know I've talked about this before, but I want to remind you, when we're talking about general transits, these are for everybody. I tack the general transits at the end of the individual reports. So the general transit that you hear for each sign will actually be the same for all signs. I do that for your convenience, so you just listen to it right after your sign-specific report. When we're talking about the general transits, these houses that these aspects are occurring in don't matter. Okay, we're just looking at the relationship between the planets and not the houses. To understand the houses, that's going to be different for each sign. So just kind of ignore, that's why I've scribbled this out over there. All right, so anytime outer planets get together, they're generally talking about a long-term theme. Okay, so this on January 13th is the first of 3 passes, with the second being on June 16th. And then the third and last being on September 21st. And these are all in 2019. Okay, so it's very well indicated to avoid being overly optimistic at this time, and definitely to avoid risk-taking behaviors that may have worked in the past. This is a time when the expansive nature of Jupiter, it just wants to go big, is kind of put into a challenging angle by this energy of disillusionment or confusion or uncertainty or chaos. And I always see these kind of aspects as nice checks and balances that we have from the universe, because we've been on this big expansion spree since Jupiter has gotten into Sagittarius. And we will continue this for most of 2019, where the energy, is in an expansion mode. Even when Jupiter is in retrograde, which isn't yet, but even during that time, there's this story of expansion is really strong, because Jupiter is in the sign that it rules, which is very excessive in that place. So, in the weeks around the 13th, June 16th, June 21st, like these hot spots will last weeks at a time. Just be really careful. Like, it's not always the best time to take risks unless you're intuitively inclined, for sure. The odds are more in favor of disappointment now than triumph. Like I said, I see a positive way to look at this transit, as it helps to show the limits of the expansion that is occurring, because we can't just keep expanding indefinitely in all areas without having a rest or having a check-in or checking sustainability for the things we've, expanded into. It's very helpful for us to have this okay, let's take a step back and evaluate and prepare for future expansion by seeing, if we can manage what we've already done. So we need to have form and structure. We need to have structure to be in form. And so the energy, being very upward moving, this is a time when we're kind of settling into the new norm and taking a break from the frenetic pace of increase. And actually doing that purposely can be a sweet way to avoid lessons from this. Okay, so now let's talk about the juicy stuff. All right, let's get this out of here. I want to talk about my favorite aspects of the month. There are quite a few nice aspects this month, but most of them are coupled with challenging aspects on the same days. So there's kind of like this sweet and salty going on a lot of the month. But towards the end, put a gold star around the 22nd. Okay, on January 22nd, Venus, where are you, buddy? All right, so Venus is going to come and get together with Jupiter. So put like a big star on the days around this. Now, there are some other aspects around those dates that could be manifesting that could have more challenge. But in general, Venus, ruling love and beauty and money and self-esteem, is going to get together with the great expander. So anytime we have a personal planet, especially Venus or Mercury or the sun, getting together with Jupiter, it usually means like really good news involving money or love, sweet spot, something gelling, money coming in, just something really, really excellent. So I just love, love, love that day. Now, if you have to do something business-wise, like launching something, oh my gosh, I really love this time. And if it happens to be in anything having to do with Sagittarius efforts, even better. So like teaching, learning, speaking, publishing, writing, spiritual pursuits, church-related things, travel, long distance, different countries, different cultures, different languages. There's even more support around those kind of things coming in, news and other things. But you can definitely use it purposely to lock in some good energy. One of those squares I warned you about with Mercury is on the 23rd. So Mercury squaring Uranus. So just, that's going to be happening at the same time. So if things are weird that exact day, don't, just follow your intuition. But I definitely love the energies of this Venus aspect. Now, the two last sweet aspects that are my favorite this month, they're even better in some ways because they're not clouded by another challenging aspect that's kind of stealing some of their thunder. Okay, so let's get that out of there. So on the 25th, we're going to have Mars in Aries trining Jupiter in Sag. Gosh, this little pen is hard to write with. Okay, so Mars, there he is, and Jupiter are going to come together and be in our favorite trine configuration. Okay, and when that happens, that's the sweetest of all astrological aspects. So this is one of my favorite aspects of the month and even the year. Because trines with Jupiter are just awesome. So it's a great day for important things. If your intuition is in agreement and the synchronicities seem to line up, I love this for like launch dates, moving forward, making decisions, and it should be relatively clear from that other aspect that happened on the 23rd, or at least it's diluting. All right, so that's put a sweet spot, sweet gold star there. And then the last aspect is on the last day of the month, that I love, love, love. You can see that the end of the month is kind of more clear in some ways from the general mischief of the month. Also, the eclipses will have happened, so some more clarity might be coming in about those directions. So on January 31st, we have a beautiful Saturn in Cap sextile Neptune in Pisces. Okay, where's our buddies there? Saturn and Neptune. Okay, so sextile is a 60-degree angle, beautiful aspect. And again, like our other aspect that we were talking about with Jupiter squaring Neptune, that's an outer planet challenging aspect. We talked about the implications of that. But this similarly will have 3 passes. Okay, so January 31st is the first pass. The second one is June 18th of 2019, and then the third is November 8th. All right, so on these days, this energy of material gains coming from spiritual focus and pursuits is very strongly brought into the picture. And again, it's like the weeks around this time. So it can also manifest as any beautiful blending of the lesser seen plus the more tangible realms. So this is like a nice bridge time when people who are doing work on the inner planes, doing work with the law of attraction, doing work with, on the levels that are hard to see. Like you could be working really hard and what we call the normal people around you, right, who don't understand what you're doing, might say, you know, everything looks the same in your life, and you say, oh, well, I'm really working, things are really shifting on the inside. These transits are times when things that you've done on the inner realm can really manifest in a big way. They're like really good affirmations of and confirmations that you're on the right track and that inner work really does work. So I love ending off the month with that kind of awesomeness. And also if you have to plan something important, that is a super sweet aspect to lock in. You know, when you're doing something important, the day you do it on is like a birthday in many cases, depending on what it is. And then that chart, whatever's going on that day, gets locked into the story of what you're doing. That's why doing things, you know, on good dates can be very helpful to the long-term outcomes of what you're trying to do, because you lock in good energy, and then that carries, you know, that goes with it for the whole venture. So if you'd like to have a written version of this every month, a month early, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com. If you are already on my email newsletter list and you're not receiving my emails, I send them out religiously. So definitely check your spam, social, events folders. And if you find them there, move them into your inbox to give your email the, you know, the alert like, hey, I want these in my general inbox, because I'm definitely sending them. So if you're not getting them, then contact my customer service team and definitely first look in those other inboxes. So I hope you love the added effects of the visuals, and definitely go to my website, AnnieHelpsYou.com, where you can see more about booking a private reading with me. I can tell you more about what's coming in the next year from the astrological perspective and all kinds of other things. Also, if you resonate with how I teach and you would love to learn with me, my astrology apprenticeship program is registering now. So definitely check out my website for details about my astrology apprenticeship program. Also, in the beginning of January, my coach certification and online business course will be registering. I have horoscopes and lifestyle blogs, including astrology for wellness blogs, at cozybysweetstarlight.com. And if you're a traveler, check out my astrology travel reports on my website, astrologykisstravelbliss.com. If you're interested in tarot, you can check out my husband's site. Plus, he also has other information about astrology and some pretty cool offerings. You can check out his website, BR Newman, at iamhelios.com, IAMHELIOS.com. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.